Today on Master Trainer, let's go over one of my favorite Pokemon. Number 133, Eevee. I love this thing. I have both a Build-A-Bear plush of it and a giant Japanese plush of it, and it's so fluffy and cute, and two of my favorite Pokemon of all time are actually evolutions of it, Umbreon and Sylveon respectively. So with that, let's get into 5 things you may not have known about Eevee. Number 1. Eevee is one of the most popular Pokemon in the entire franchise, often pulling ahead of Pikachu in popularity polls, and even reportedly was considered at one point as a series mascot. I honestly don't know why they didn't go for it. I mean, nothing wrong with Pikachu, but I don't know, Eevee seems cooler to me. I think there were signs of this early on. I mean, after all, in Pokemon Yellow version, your rival does in fact get an Eevee. And of course, Eevee itself would eventually go on to be the star of Pokemon Let's Go Eevee version for the Nintendo Switch. However, this popularity has also led to Eevee, statistically speaking, being one of the most traded Pokemon of all time. In fact, Eevee was reportedly the most traded Pokemon ever over the Wonder Trade random trading feature in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, eventually resulting in Game Freak hosting a tournament in those games called the Eevee Friendly Match, in which players were limited to using only Eevee or one of its 8 evolutions in battle. Number 2. Eevee is best known for its numerous evolutions. Originally known as Eon during Pokemon Red and Blue's development, this would appear as a suffix for each of its evolutionary forms, which were originally coined by fans as Eeveelutions. This term would gain massive popularity and would eventually be officially recognized by Nintendo and Game Freak, first in a strategy guide for Pokemon Stadium 2, and later in a theme deck for the Pokemon trading card game. However, so far the only handheld game in which the term has appeared has been Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia for the Nintendo DS. Number 3. As we've established, Eevee is massively popular and has been a fan favorite Pokemon since the beginning. But how did it achieve this unmatched popularity? This question was so perplexing that even Game Freak themselves decided to look into it. Game Freak's own Junichi Masuda, in an interview with gaming news website IGN, once stated, "Its fur is fluffy and looks soft. It looks like it would be warm if you hugged it. It has these kind of shiny but bright and sparkly eyes and it has paw pads," he said, before following by saying, "It's a kind of Pokemon that is full of hope and dreams and is looking towards the future." Which is to say, Eevee is incredibly popular because it's incredibly cute, but also very versatile. But of course, why is it really popular? Let me know down in the comment section below. Number 4. It's not often that we mention fan phenomenons in these countdowns, but who here remembers Twitch Plays Pokemon? For those who were over on Twitch back in February 2014, the original Twitch Plays Pokemon, Pokemon Red version streams were incredible, and for those unfamiliar with the concept, it featured an emulated version of Pokemon Red version for the Game Boy, in which the player inputs were decided by those in the stream chat by physically typing them in. It was pure chaos in the best possible way, and though it's still going on, it's definitely past its peak. That said, where does Eevee fit into this? Well, in the original Pokemon games, you were only given one Eevee per playthrough, and that was in Celadon City, meaning that you would also only get one Eeveelution per playthrough. The vast majority of those in the stream chat wanted this particular Eevee to evolve into the water-type Vaporeon. However, due to the chaotic nature of Twitch Plays Pokemon, a Firestone was selected instead of a Water Stone, instead evolving Eevee into a Flareon, and sparking much outrage from those viewing and participating. Thus, this Flareon would be dubbed in this corner of the Pokemon fandom as the False Prophet, joining other such popular Twitch Plays Pokemon memes as Bird Jesus the Pidgeot and Lord Helix the Helix Fossil. Number 5. Okay, this last fact is perhaps a bit more tame than that last one. We can learn a lot about Eevee from its various Pokédex entries, particularly how it's incredibly rare and is genetically unstable, but it's also really great at adapting to the environment around it. However, the true extent of Eevee's ability to adapt to the environment around it was not truly shown until Pokemon Ultra Moon the 3DS, where according to its Pokédex entry, its genes are easily influenced by its surrounding. Even its face starts to look like that of its trainer. And with that, I now can't stop imagining an Eevee with an incredibly human-like face. And now that that image is burned into your brain, that's it for our video on Eevee. What Pokemon topics you want to see covered in future videos, let me know in the comment section below. And while you're at it, subscribe to Master Trainer to keep updated on anything and everything Pokemon. So with that, I'll see you next time.